So I've had a wonderful comment on the video I did about how I got HIV. Hi Nick's Farm. So today it's a response video. So I've had a wonderful comment on the video I did about how I got HIV. So literally, honestly, this is the most wonderful comment. If I can insert it into the video, I absolutely will. It says, I already had a lot of respect for you from what you do on TikTok. You have inspired me to lose weight and I've now lost 10 stone and I'm not taking Mounjaro or anything. I've done it by myself, and when I want to buy clothes I always look at you and think, if it suits her body type, it will suit mine. Because I think we're roughly the same size. Right, I'm going to stop there, it is mid-sentence. 1, absolutely, well done, you've done amazing. Honestly, I am so proud of you. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, because not a lot of people feel comfortable sharing that, so well done to you, lovely. And then she goes on to say, I always look at you and think, if it suits her body type, it'll suit mine, because I think we're roughly the same size. But now after listening to your story as well, firstly, what is green juice? I know, unfortunately, there's some words you're not allowed to say on some of the apps, so I wasn't sure if this one was going to be okay with it. So if you're on something, a substance, a brown substance, I don't know if I'd get away with saying it, what it is on here. It is, begins with a H and ends in like ruin. The green juice is actually methadone, and it is what you take to help get you off it. It's kind of like a substitute, and you take it and you get weaned off that to help you recover. So that's what I mean when I say green juice. I think I can say that word, but just not the actual name of the substance. So the next part of this is, I don't know what that is, sorry. And the second question that I had, if you don't mind me, and the way you've asked this question is absolutely beautiful and I appreciate it. And honestly, if you've got someone to ask, just ask me in any way. I won't take offence unless it's mean, and this is by no means mean. This is a very supportive way of writing a question. So honestly, well done to you for writing a question so lovely. So you've wrote on here, if you don't mind me asking, and obviously you don't need to answer me, now you're undetected HIV, or whatever the word you meant to use, I apologise again. You apologise so many times you didn't need to. Do you then have to tell people, or like partners or anything? Do you have to tell them? Again, it's just me being nosy, so you don't need to answer that question. I just do want you to know that you were already an inspiration to me, and now you're even more so. So one thing that a lot of people don't know is, when I was diagnosed 20 years ago, I didn't have to disclose it to anybody. I never ever had to tell anyone. If I got in a new relationship with somebody, and as long as I had protected, I didn't have to disclose. However, if something ended up happening as a result of me not disclosing, I then opened myself up to a world of potential problems. So myself personally, I always disclose. I've been in many situations where if I've not felt safe around the person, I didn't disclose, but I also didn't engage in anything, and I stopped at a conversation. I had one example. The town used to have a thing called First Stop. I've mentioned it previously, where they used to take my mail. There was someone in there, he'd just got released from Home House, which is our local jail, and he was trying his hardest. First day, wanting to get some. And I looked a lot different than I do now. And I was like, no thank you, I'm not interested. And he was like, what's your name? And I said, I'm Rachel Austin. And he looked at me, and I had my passport in front of me, and he swiped my passport, and he was like, no, you're not. So my passport was actually in a different surname. And he was like, no, you're not. I know exactly who you are, and I know what you've got. Keep your dirty, filthy, rotten sex to yourself. And I was like, hang on a minute. You approached me and was trying to get me, and I said no. Don't you now just spin this around? So at that point, like, I have been in situations where I haven't disclosed it, but people have already been made aware, because unfortunately other people took it upon themselves to tell people. People I was related to cried on other people, making out I wasn't going to be here within the next year, when reality was I had at least 10, 15 years before that would happen. So it made some of my choices for me. Every time I got into a serious relationship, what I would do is tell them and disclose it to them, and if they wanted to, I would take them to my appointments at the hospital. So I used to have a doctor called Viv, and I used to joke, said I'm going to go see Viv about the HIV, And yeah, I would take them with me, let them ask as many questions as they wanted. I would offer to go out the room so they could ask questions whilst I'm not there. Another useful thing, so now you can get checked for it in any hospital, but at the time I could either go to the James Cook in Middlesbrough or Dr. Ong Surgery in Newcastle, and that's it. And they were treks to get there. So yeah, when I found out and I was going to these hospitals, they always said if I was in situations where they needed somebody to come out and talk. So when I was in the women's refuge, they were like, right, if people find out, we've got no problem with somebody coming in and talking to people if they've got questions. If you go into relationships, we've got no problem you bringing your partners in. If you get a job, we don't mind coming in and speaking to the staff. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've always had situations where they were willing to bring people into my life and my situations to put people's mind at rest, put people's mind at ease, so that people didn't think I was going to put them at risk just by being there, because there's a lot of misconceptions about it being in saliva, about how damaging it is in blister fluid. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of different things about it. So me, myself, personally, going into any relationship, I would always disclose, always let them come to the hospital, meet my doctor, ask my doctor questions. I'd offer to go out of the room. There has been situations where people haven't cared, and there's been situations where there's at least 2 people I know that should have ended up with it off me, but didn't. Thank whoever stopped that. However, that didn't happen. Yeah, so one person was actually sabotaging the protection, and another person, when I was doing the substances, he had a problem with the equipment he was using, his paraphernalia, and then he took mine straight from me and put it straight into him. How he never got it, I will never know. Lucky, call it lucky, stupid, dumb luck, whatever it was, because I wouldn't have been at fault for that. He did try and say for a little while that he didn't know I had it, but luckily I had it on medical records at my substance misuse service and at the hospital. He'd been attended to both appointments, so I could back myself up in both ways. So of course some people are just quite horrible. As it stands now, it's undetectable, so my medication suppresses it that much where I'm undetectable. I'm not infectious, I can't transmit it to anybody. I don't know how that would change if ever I came off a medication. I've got no intentions of coming off my medication. I will be on it for life. If I was to go into a new relationship, I would still apply the exact same rules. I've been on the medication now for coming up 15 years. In fact, it's 15 years now. Excuse me, because I was on it when I was last pregnant. So of course, we're just over 15 years of me being on medication. And even in the last 15 years, if I've got into relationships, I've made them fully aware before I've even attempted to have any type of relations with anybody. Working with people tends to be, I tell bosses, management, and you always have people that are trained in medical, don't you? So you have people that are, what's it called, something training. I can't think of the word. You know, like if somebody gets poorly and they get they know how to do the CPR or how to do plasters, or do you know what I mean? Like all the recovery position and all that. I can't remember what the training's called. It's like medical training. So I would always make my management aware, higher management aware, and anybody that was like a first response in an emergency, like any of those people. I can't remember the word, the word's just gone. So yeah, so I make sure I do. If I change teams, if I change managements, if I changed operation managements, I've got no problem talking about it. I've never, I remember going to therapy once when I first found out, and I'd just talk about it very blasé, and she was like, in all of her years have been, because she used to be a psychologist specifically for people who've got a diagnosis with something similar to what I've got, so like hepatitis, HIV and all the rest. And she said to me she's never ever met anyone that could just say it out loud, because I've always been able to say the words. She went, most people either whisper it, mime it, go really quiet when they say it. She's like, you just say the words. She's like, I've never met anybody like you. But I do have like a bubble effect, so I'm always in this bubble. Everything's at the bubble, but it's just not penetrating, which is, it's how I keep myself sane and keep myself keep my sanity in place. But yeah, in order to answer your question, I absolutely would disclose it 100% to absolutely anybody and everybody before I would even consider even kissing somebody. I'd make sure they're 100% aware. If they've got any questions, I'm like, if you've got it, even friendships, if I feel close enough to tell you, I'm like, if you've got any questions, ask. Like, and I'm like that. Like, there's a few people that new that I met at TikTok events, and I'm like, by the way, these are the things I don't talk about online, and I'm HIV, and everyone's been brilliant with it. Absolutely everyone. Never had a bad reaction. Years ago, I'd get the odd bad reaction. I remember having a horrific reaction in a women's refuge once where everyone believed they had a right to know because they had children in the refuge, and the woman was like, why is Rachel running around freaking putting a blood everywhere? And they were like, well, no. Well, what's Rachel been doing why you feel like you had a right to know? Well, we've got kids here. That doesn't mean you've got a right to know Rachel's personal details. They were all threatening, saying you need to get her out, you need to put her somewhere else. So they called a meeting, and at the end of the day they were like, Rachel, we need you to come to this meeting. They were like, everybody knows. I'm mortified. And Janet, she was called, the lady that worked there. I'm not going to go into her surname, I'm not going to say which refuge it was, you all know I've been in a few. And she sat everybody down and she was like, does everybody take issue? And there's only 2 or 3 of the women that were in there that did. And she was like, right, and what do you think we should do about it? And they're like, she needs to leave, she can't stay here with our kids. And she's like, right, if you take issue with this, Rachel's got just as much right to be here as Jews. You're all more than welcome to leave. She actually told them they had to leave. Bearing in mind, I was only diagnosed about 6 months before, so I was still learning to come to terms with this. And yeah, like, that was so overwhelming having that support, and that stuck with me for 20 years, that this woman just didn't even know me. I'd been in there a couple of weeks and she had my back straight away. But yeah, occasionally I do get very, very bad reactions. It's very rare that I get a bad reaction. 9 times out of 10 people don't have a reaction because they don't understand what it is. But in the main, it's one of those things now. The reason I started talking about it is I was never going to talk about it until my youngest child left school. And then one, she outed me on a live once in the background, but I'd already talked about it a couple of times, just briefly touched on it. But yeah, she was talking about it with a friend. She asked me a few questions about it. She cleared things up for it because she'd heard rumours, she'd heard conversations, but she didn't know too much about it. So I'd spoken to her about me talking about it, my other daughter and my 2 youngest sisters and my mum. And I was like, does anyone have any problem with me talking about it? And they're like, no. And I was like, because I want to raise awareness, because there is stereotypes of the type of people that get it, where I am a white heterosexual female. Yes, I used to do the substances with the paraphernalia I used, but that is not how I contracted it, hence the video I did a couple of videos ago, hence where this question came into play. I do appreciate questions, absolutely. Any questions that you've got, ask away. And I will be doing lots more story times. I'm wanting to do story times about lots of different things. A couple of them do need to wait till my youngest leaves school. But yeah, I've got lots of story times to come, guys. And I did want to write a book, but there ain't no way I can put all of this into a book myself. And someone's offered to write for me, but I don't know if I'm there yet. But any questions that you've got, whether it's about the substances, whether it's about the health, whether it's about the implications, like if there's anything you're curious about, do what this person did and just ask me, because I'm an open book, guys, and I like to raise awareness. And the fact that I'm on this medication, which means I'm no longer contagious, and I was told 10 to 15 years 20 years ago, and now as long as I look after myself and I get even smaller still and I keep on top of looking after myself and eating the right foods and stuff, there's no reason I couldn't live a healthy life. I've quit smoking, I've quit vaping, I've quit drinking, I've quit the substances. Like, there isn't anything that I do that I shouldn't do anymore. So yeah, any other questions, by all means ask away, guys. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I would love nothing more than to be able, there is so many things that I want to do, but of course it's the financial constraints that thing is. So between TikTok here and hopefully IG, I really want to start monetizing off all the apps so I generate an income so that I can start doing things to help people, to put things out even further. I had a live not so long ago where I talked about a TV series that's on at the moment, and about how triggering it was and how I came very close to relapsing. And after having that conversation on that live, I actually got somebody come in the live telling me they nearly did, but after watching me, they'd stopped watching it and they never relapsed. So me having a conversation prevented somebody else making a bad choice as well. So that's 2 people off me having a conversation. Now I was one of those 2 people that didn't make the bad choice. I don't think I would have done. Even though I thought about it and all the rest of it, I don't think I would have done. Well, obviously, if I was going to, I would have, wouldn't I? So yeah, and a lot of what I want to do is, it's more motivational. So it's kind of like, if I can do anything or speak to people or listen to people, or no, I don't advise people. I do not give advice. I just draw from personal experience. That's it. That's all I can do. I can sit and listen to people left, right and centre. I can sit and try and advise, but if I advise and it goes wrong, then I'm accountable as well. So I don't give advice. but I do draw from personal experience. But thank you so much for the question. I actually, honestly, when I saw it, I was so happy when I saw it, because I was like, I love sharing more and more information, and I didn't realise until you asked the questions that I hadn't even explained some of those bits. So there's probably still bits that I haven't explained. So yes, thank you so much. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Try and get me out of this room. I just live in a room, guys. I live in a house share, just in a room. I do have a studio that I work from. But yeah, that's a business expense. If I moved into a house, that'd be a me expense. So, you know, pros and cons, etc. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on anything. See you soon.